Good morning. Welcome to St. Bart's in Midtown Manhattan, whether you're joining us here in person on Park Avenue or joining us online. We're so glad that you're here, and we're so glad you're here specifically for the forum where each week we explore sacred conversations about the things that matter. My name is Peter Thompson. I'm the vicar here. And today, the thing that matters is our life together as a community here at St. Bart's, and we are very happy to welcome 3 staff members who are either completely new to St. Bart's in the last year or who have taken on new roles in the last year. Bailey Regan, Tara Marlovits, and Veronica Shea. And they're each going to speak about what brought them to this new role and their hopes for the next year and beyond in our life together as a community. So Bailey, Tara, Veronica, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to everyone this morning. I wonder if we can start with just brief introductions, and if you wouldn't mind each talking about what role you're in and what brought you to this role. Bailey, if you want to begin.
Sure. Beginning in this past August, I became the Associate for Newcomer Welcome and Engagement here at St. Bart's. So we're really working on redefining what it means to be a member of our community, shaping the welcome process, and implementing a new welcome process. So I'm responsible for helping with baptisms, confirmations, anything to do with people entering our community. And prior to coming to St. Bart's, I graduated from Cornell University in May of 2021. And then I was working just down the block at Fifth Avenue Presbyterian Church as their communications and development associate.
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you. As Peter said, I'm Tara Marlovits. I'm the new Chief Operating Officer here at St. Bart's. As you've probably heard, this role was really designed to support the strategic direction of the church and also to help with the management of our back office organizational functions. So I'm thrilled to be on board supporting that really important work. Prior to joining St. Bart's, I, many moons ago, went to divinity school and then spent about the last 25 years working in the nonprofit sector, particularly in education reform. And for the bulk of that time, I was one of the founders of a charter school management organization. And so had the good fortune to be a director of an elementary school. I served as the chief operating officer of that organization for many years. And then most recently was working at the executive level on fundraising, marketing, and external relations. And so I wasn't really, actively looking for my next chapter, but I knew that when I did make a switch out of education, I really wanted to be in a faith-based or church setting. And so I just feel really fortunate to have come upon this opportunity here at St. Bart's. I feel like it's a great combination of some of the management and leadership work I've done before, particularly on the operations front, but in just such an incredibly sort of deep and long-standing, legacy kind of community of St. Bart's. So I'm just really excited to be here.
Thanks, Tara. We're so glad you're here. My name is Veronica Shea. I've been on the staff here at St. Bart's since 2002, starting as a part-timer. I worked at the 109 desk for a little bit, and I was the clergy liaison. I'm sorry, not the clergy liaison, the staff liaison for the City Club, which was kind of the people who had sort of aged out of the community club. And then this desk called St. Bart's Central started 20 years ago, actually this month, in 2003. Myself and Wendy Boyd, who is now our IT person, we were kind of both running this desk, and the best way to describe it, as many of you probably know, is sort of as it sort of works as a concierge in a way. The concept came, if any of you remember Ray McGarrigle, he was our general manager way back, and he had gone to the Metropolitan Museum, and he saw the membership desk, and he thought, I wonder if we could have that work at St. Bart's. So that's what St. Bart's Central became. It was kind of a way for parishioners to sign up for events, a place to welcome welcome people, to answer the phone, and then eventually it morphed into also running the bookstore. So that's what I've been doing for quite some time. And now my new role is as associate for parish life, coordinating events, still being sort of a liaison for people involved in the different clubs and activities that we have here, and looking into having new events that are welcoming and inclusive for everyone. We just had a wonderful event on Thursday, 12th night, which was a brand new event that we tried, and it exceeded all of our expectations. And I hope some of you were here to enjoy that. But I'm really looking forward to kind of brainstorming with my colleagues and with parishioners on new things that we can do here to make St. Bart's more welcoming, both spiritually and socially. I think people just want to be a part of the community, and I think that's it's a great way to do that. So.
Thanks to all three of you. One of you is in a new role at an organization you've been at for a long time. The two of you are new to St. Bart's. Can you talk about what's special about this place and why you wanted to work here or wanted to keep working here in a new way?
Well, since I have the mic, I guess I'll keep talking. So I did come to St. Bart's because of the St. Bart's Players in 1999, so I'm very shy. And but I think one of the things that keeps me at St. Bart's is that it is such a welcoming place. I think that there is such a pride in this community, and people just feel like as soon as somebody walks through the door, it's your role to make them feel welcome, to make them feel like they're a part of this community. You see it all the time. I see it with the ushers, making sure that people feel welcome and that they have a place to sit and a place to be. And so I think there's just such a wonderful sense of community here, and I hope that is something that in my new role that can be increased. And also I think that both Bailey and Tara have ways to make people feel that as well.
I think there were a lot of reasons that drew me here to St. Bart's. Clearly there's sort of the rich legacy of the church itself. There's the building that's, a national treasure. And then just as Veronica said, there's this really incredible spiritual community. And I will say, everyone I have met, I am very new. I've only been on board since late this fall, early November. But everyone I've met, from vestry members to the clergy to the staff, volunteers, parishioners, has just been incredibly warm and welcoming. And this idea of radical welcome is very present sort of all of the time here. And I think, when I was thinking about joining a new organization, the piece that was incredibly important to me, in addition to the actual work, was also really the people that you're going to be surrounded with. And I think in any endeavor, that's sort of the most critical part. And so I've been nothing but sort of, overjoyed to be part of a community that feels really welcoming and has this kind of deep spiritual legacy as well.
As Tara said, I think that I feel incredibly fortunate to work alongside such wonderful colleagues, and there's a rich history and beautiful architecture here, but I think the people are really the core of St. Bart's. And as the associate for newcomer welcome, I've had really a beautiful experience of being welcomed myself as a newcomer to St. Bart's. In the 4 or 5 months that I've been here, I've been really just blown away by the dedication and genuine care that people have for the community. Volunteers in particular, just seeing the way that they step up, whether it be hospitality committee or working with our children, our youth. There's really a place for everyone here, and I think people are really good at finding their niches and getting engaged and really giving back in a life-giving way. And that's been incredibly inspiring to me.
Excellent. Thank you all. I wonder, we're standing now at a threshold of a new year, and I'm wondering if you can talk about your goals and hopes for this next year in your own areas.
Well, one thing I'm particularly excited about is we're going to be onboarding a visitor services associate who will help us, as Veronica said, be sort of a concierge and welcome people at St. Bart's Central. And I'm looking forward to partnering with this new colleague and also just expanding our welcome procedures and genuinely being open for those that come through our doors.
I would say a few things. I think as we've been talking about, people are drawn to St. Bart's for its deep legacy, and we're really at this, just as you said, sort of a threshold moment. And so how do we really think about preserving the church's legacy and having it thrive well into the future? So I'm spending a lot of my time, I've spent the last few months really listening and learning and meeting a lot of folks and trying to understand our context, and then thinking about what are the, really strategic decisions that we need to make going forward to ensure that the church as a community again continues to serve this really unique position for years to come. So we'll be working on a lot of the operations front, thinking about how we can support our back office staff to make them as effective in their roles as possible. I'm doing a lot of work with the vestry on our mission plan, and I'm looking forward to the parish meeting in a few months and sharing some of that information with you all. And then really just ensuring that being good partners to Peter and Dean and the rest of the clergy so that they can focus, and Veronica and Bailey too as well. So our whole staff can really focus on the things that they do well. I see my piece as sort of supporting their work and ensuring, again, that the way we're managing the church and thinking about it as an organization allows them to do what they do best and can really shine in that area as well.
Thanks. Yeah, and as I mentioned, we already started having new events, like our 12th night event. What we want to do is try to have some more events that explore and celebrate the diversity of our own parish, as well as the diversity of New York City. I mean, here we are we're in the heart of New York City. We have so many ethnicities and languages and things to celebrate. So the next big event will be we're actually going to have a Lunar New Year event in February to celebrate our Asian population. I think within our own community we have a number of Asian members, and we want to celebrate them. We did have a Dia de los Muertos in October, so we want to have more events like that are celebrating the diversity of our community, both spiritually and socially, and just so that's my goal is to try to have some kind of a big event every month. That's sort of been what I've been tasked with, and I'm more than happy to do it. I find that it's really getting those creative juices flowing, which is really, really exciting for me, and I hope it will be for everyone else.
Tara, you used the word strategic, and one thing I want to bring into this conversation is the vestry approved a strategic plan at the end of 2021, which in one way or another called for each of your new roles. I'm wondering how you see what you're doing in the context of that strategic plan, and how you see us as a community positioning ourselves for the long-term future.
Well, I think that what I was just saying about one of the things that my pillar has been tasked with is to have more events that are more inclusive, trying some new things that will make people feel more welcome here, to build the community in partnership with my colleagues, especially Bailey, because we sort of hand off to each other what, here's someone new, but maybe I can get them on a committee and you can welcome them, and those kinds of things that we want to do. But the whole idea is to get more activity so that this place is always kind of humming, and there's just an electricity. I was mentioning that on Thursday, the din of community that you felt, there was just a nonstop buzz of people talking and just getting excited about things, and it was a really good feeling to know that they were enjoying it and feeling that sense of community, and that was after coming from having a lovely service in the church. So kind of combining that social and spiritual aspect of who St. Bart's is. So.
Thanks. I really applaud the vestry for investing in the strategic plan and doing the what can be really challenging work of defining, what are our sort of core values and principles, and how do we want to put those into action going forward. And so I really see my role as helping to support, all those pillars in as many ways as possible, but particularly this idea around solidifying, again, kind of the back office functions, making sure we're as efficient as possible. We're using our resources in a way that allows us to fulfill our mission and is also responsible for the generations that will come after us. And so again, I really look at it as kind of undergirding a lot of the great work that is happening on the programmatic front, so that we're not only able to, just as Veronica said, we want to be this place where you have a lot of incredible, ministry work happening, but we also have to make sure we have the organizational infrastructure to support that. And so I really see that as sort of my key task is to kind of ensure we're well positioned to thrive many, many years into the future. So I think the strategic plan is incredibly sort of optimistic and forward-looking, and I think it provides a lot of direction that's really important given that we are in this really unique moment.
Thank you. My position relates most closely with Pillar 3 of the 6-pillar strategic plan, and it involves growing and diversifying our membership. So as Veronica mentioned, I think we want our congregation to reflect the city that we live in. And so this year I'm interested in putting processes into place that will allow that to come to fruition. In particular, I think I'm very interested in developing our digital ministries. I think that COVID, for all the tragedy and the severe loss that we experienced, it also opened this new digital community. And I think I want to explore how we're engaging these folks and what we might be able to do better in the new year.
St. Bart's is fortunate to have a staff. Not all churches can say that. Sometimes it's just the one priest. And yet still our staff can't do everything to make this building and this community function. And I'm wondering a little bit if you can talk about the role of volunteers. What can all of these folks out here do to help you in the work that you're doing?
Well, I think in Welcome Ministries in particular, it's incredibly important. I think the staff and the clergy can be welcoming, but if the community in general doesn't reflect that, then it's extremely difficult for people to have a positive experience. But fortunately, I think that it does already. There's already this culture of welcome that we can continue to build upon in the new year. But I think in general, just if you see someone at coffee hour who looks like they may be new, who you haven't seen before, I think the best thing you can do is just to go up and talk to them. It doesn't even have to be in a codified welcome ministry. I think just taking that opportunity to have a conversation with someone you haven't before.
One of the things I've been struck by as I've joined St. Bart's is how long-term people have been involved, whether from a staff perspective, as Veronica was just sharing, or folks who are members of the parish. And so I would say one of the things I've really enjoyed in the last few months has been learning about the history, learning about the context, meeting so many people. So I'm open and excited to connect with as many parishioners as possible. I think I know I have a lot to learn from you all, and so I'm certainly open to hearing about folks' experience and ideas as they've been part of the St. Bart's community as well. And then I would say I've also been really struck by, we have a lot of, the volunteer community is very strong, and people's willingness to give of their time and their expertise. And so I would just encourage everyone to, if there is something that really speaks to you or a need you see, it seems like this is a place where you can really have an impact and be joining in kind of our collective efforts, which I think is inspiring for all of us. And then I would sort of echo Bailey's sentiments that particularly now that we are in a hybrid kind of environment, I think thinking about how we can all continue to strengthen the sort of outward knowledge about St. Bart's. And so just kind of continuing to spread the word about this really welcoming, diverse, energized community, I think is something that's in all of our best interests as well.
Well, volunteers are absolutely the backbone of St. Bart's, and I look around this room and I see so many people who I know are doing things, and one in particular who was serving over a hot tray of food on Thursday night. Thank you, Flora. It truly takes a village. I mean, we have people in the background at things you don't even think about, like who's polishing the silver, and we used to have a ministry which COVID kind of got rid of we'd have some volunteers coming every Friday to put the inserts into the programs. I mean, did anybody ever think about how that happened? There's Altar Guild, there's the lectors, the intercessors, the acolytes, the chalicers. I mean, there's so many people who are involved in making the service happen and then making all of our other things happen. So it's really an important part of our community. Years ago, Buddy Stalling said, let's do something to acknowledge the volunteers, and when we finished, we had 500 people to acknowledge. So it shows you what it takes to make everything happen here. So to those of you who are already volunteering, thank you so much. And sorry, I should have had a list with me for you to sign up, but you can always give us a call, and we'll find something for you to do. And there's something maybe every week or every month or something, but it truly does take our entire community to make things run smoothly, and we're so grateful for those who do give of their time.
Bailey and Terry, you've already mentioned the digital aspect of our community, and that is something I don't think anyone anticipated pre-COVID, just how large an aspect of our life that would become. I wonder what each of you think about that digital piece and what role it will play in the future.
Yeah, well, some of you may or may not know, but one of the things that I've been doing since COVID has been the live stream host for both the forum, which Kara's doing right now since I'm here, but and also for the 11 o'clock service, and just seeing the countries that people are coming from, because one of the first questions we ask is, we say welcome, and then we say, where are you joining us from? And Dean has mentioned it many times during a service, welcome, are you watching us from Africa? You're watching us from Australia, Germany, Canada, just all over, and the impact is just amazing. And I think that's one of the positive things that has come out of COVID, as devastating as it was in so many ways. But we've just this forum being live streamed. We always taped the forum, but we never broadcasted. And now we have people who can take classes with us online and watch our services, and people who've never even set foot in St. Bart's feel members of the community. So I think it's really an amazing gift that we have here to be able to share our services and our classes with people. And I think that's obviously it's the future, but it's now. It's really happening already, and we're digitizing in so many other ways too, by being able to stay in touch with these folks who are joining us from near and far.
Great. I would sort of echo those same sentiments. I do think that one of the silver linings of COVID has been this idea of expanding communities. And I think now more than ever, people across the world are hungry to connect. And so we have to really be creative about what that looks like. And so again, I'm so new, but I applaud. I understand how St. Bart's was, very quick to adopt the online services and adopt this hybrid approach as COVID progressed. And I, again, just really applaud that effort for being kind of forward-thinking and also really expansive in that you can be a part of this community even if you're not with us here on Park Avenue. And so I think that really speaks to the future of what I think people are looking for in general, but also the future of the church, in that how can we find new ways to expand what we're doing and ensure we're reaching as many people as possible. So I find it really energizing and inspiring to know that there are folks, well beyond our walls who are tapping into the incredible programming that's happening here.
Thank you. I think that initially this switch to hybrid or online church happened out of necessity, really. But I think we're beginning to be really intentional about how we are engaging these people in classes, in welcome ministries, but this year in particular, I think I'm just excited to expand that and to hear from people who have been with us online and to learn more about what they are yearning to provide our community with. You know, I think it's not about being a passive receiver and sitting and, you know, just watching the service. I want to know those people who are out there, and I want them to feel like they're able to contribute in whatever way they feel called to St. Bart's.
And what I always think is important to point out is the majority of our members are hybrid members. Even if you're here most of the time in person, you're still joining us some of the time online in some way. And even if you're mostly online, we are increasingly see people coming to the physical location of St. Bart's as kind of a pilgrimage. So most people are in person and online. It's just a question of whether your mix is 90-10 or 10-90. So we have plenty of time for questions for Tara, Bailey, and Veronica. Natalie Johnson has question cards, and there are also some on your tables already. If you're here in person, feel free to fill one out and hand it to Natalie. She'll get them to me. If you're joining us online, speaking about our hybrid audiences, you can fill out the live chat function on YouTube and send a question that way. You can write a comment on Facebook, or you can email me, pthompson@stbarts.org. That's PTHOMPSON@STBARTS.org. Question, you all now, all three of you work in a church, and that means your schedules might be different from family and friends in your lives. The kind of work you do is different. What do you see as unique about church work, and what is kind of hard to describe to your friends and family about what you do?
I think as a person of faith, it's easier to describe to friends and family because they already know that as a part of my identity, but it can be, you know, interesting when you're meeting someone for the first time and they ask what you do for work. I think especially as someone my age, and I say that I work in a church, and, you know, you might get a quizzical look at first, but it gives me an opportunity to share about my faith and share a part of me with someone that I may not have been able to initially. So I'm grateful for that, and grateful to sort of challenge expectations, I guess, for who belongs at church.
Yeah, I love the way Bailey said that. I think inevitably when you tell someone that you work at a church, particularly I think beyond the folks who know you well, it always sparks a conversation. And I think that's one of the real gifts of doing this kind of work. When I was sharing with folks that I was transitioning out of my old organization and coming to work at St. Bart's, I was really very pleasantly surprised by the reaction I received from so many folks. And I think particularly here in New York, they knew the legacy of the church. They knew where we were on Park Avenue, and they were really like, that's amazing, that's awesome. And so I think it again just sort of speaks to the rich history and legacy of the church, that so many people were already familiar with what we were doing. So it hasn't posed any challenges in terms of sort of explaining it. And then when I talk about my role, I think people are again really struck by the fact that St. Bart's is investing in its strategic direction, and it is really thinking about how it can thrive long term. And so it does always spark an interesting conversation with folks.
Well, after 20 years, my friends know that I can't make plans on Sundays. But I think, when I say that I work at a church, I always say, but I'm not a Jesus freak. It's the Episcopal Church. It's really welcoming. It's really progressive. And I always say, come for the building, but stay for the service, because the architecture is so extraordinary. And, since I'm a native New Yorker, a lot of my friends are native New Yorkers, and and this has happened many times when sitting at St. Bart's Central, people will say, I walked past here for 20 years and I never came in. And I'll say to my friends, you really do need to see it. And then, maybe you like the music and maybe you like the service too. But it really is, it is a funny thing to say that you work in a church when you're, you haven't shown any other kind of extreme sides of of your faith in other ways. But I always encourage people to come and share what we have at St. Bart's.
What is a memorable moment you've had so far at St. Bart's? Be easier for you,
Do you want me
Veronica.
to tell the
Yeah.
pigeon story?
Sure.
So when I was working at the 109 East 50th Street desk years and years ago, I was sitting there and getting ready to close up, and someone walked past the desk and said, "Oh, you have a friend here." And I didn't realize, but a pigeon had walked in the door, and it was sitting on a plastic bag that was actually a clothing donation. So now I had to figure out how to get this pigeon out before I locked the door. And those of you who might remember Mary Haddad, she had come rushing past me, and I said, "Mary, I don't know what to do. How do I get this pigeon out?" She went upstairs, and when she came back, I said, "Well, what are we going to do?" So we sort of encouraged it toward the door. We finally get it out and close the door, and then I go back to the desk to lock the rest of the things up, and then she comes knocking back on the door, and the pigeon was obviously sick already, but it walked into the street and got hit by a cab. So it was, but poor Mary was just beside herself, and all I thought was, this is a great story. So, but there have been many memorable moments, and those of you who remember Dennis Sterney, he used to say he was going to write the book. I used to say I'm going to write the sequel. So, because you do get quite a mix of people walking in our doors, and it can be fun, it can be challenging. But it always makes for a good story, and as I'm of Irish heritage, stories are very important to us. So
I definitely can't compete with the pigeon.
second one.
Oh, okay, we can share that later. I would say two things. One is on my first day, Dean had gathered all of the staff to sort of welcome me, and that was really lovely. I definitely felt that sense of radical welcome. I got to meet a lot of people in person. I was struck by how many people were in attendance and had taken some time out of their day just to come in and say a quick hi. And so that really stands out as very meaningful for me. And then to this point of kind of working in a church, I do try to walk through the church at least once a day, and I think it's just one of the things I enjoy the most is being able to enjoy the beautiful space and sort of take a moment to look around and just appreciate the beautiful architecture and kind of where we are. So I'll be hopeful to have some more colorful stories like Veronica someday, but that's for now.
I also can't top the pigeon story, but your comment about the beautiful architecture it reminded me of my time in the past few months being at St. Bart's Central, sort of in the interim while we were searching for a visitor services associate. And I think it's been really interesting to watch people's reactions when they do walk in for the first time. And oftentimes they will say something like Veronica said, where they'll say, I work in the area, I've walked past all the time, but this is my first time here, and I can't believe it. It's just amazing. And I think my favorite instance of that was a family walked in, and there was a young child, probably 3 or 4, and he looked up at the mosaic in the narthex and just said, "Whoa!" And that was, I felt the same way when I came here, but just the unfiltered response was very cute.
What has surprised each of you about St. Bart's? What about this community did you not expect?
I think, as Tara said, just the longevity. I think in my first few months here, I've been trying to speak to people who have been here for a long time to just get a sense of the culture and why St. Bart's continues to be a part of their life, and that longevity is something that has pleasantly surprised me, and just the deep connections that people have with the church.
I think that's right. I have been struck by the fact that so many people have been deeply invested in the community for so long. I've also had the chance to work pretty closely with a few members of the vestry, and so I've also been really struck by just the amount of time and energy that they put into their roles as volunteers. And so I think I understood that. I've worked with a lot of nonprofit boards, but this is definitely a different experience, and I think their commitment to the church, again, particularly over a very long period of time, is really unique and something that's been pleasantly unexpected.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with the amount of dedication, both the staff and the clergy, the volunteers. It is really an amazing community. Our facility staff, they work tirelessly, and there's just nobody ever says no. They just say, let's get it done, and it's just a great working environment to make sure, because in the end it's all about being here for the parishioners, being here for the congregants, and there's just an incredible amount of dedication, and just to say what Bailey was saying about, I used to call that the wow factor when people walked in the door and saw that, especially when they see those mosaics, and that is really a pleasant surprise to see people's reaction because they don't realize, there's that other church 2 blocks away, and it's a cathedral, and it's apples and oranges, and they just, our architecture is so much different, and it really is an amazing thing to watch people see it for the first time.
Veronica, I think this next question is for you specifically. You've been at St. Bart's for over 2 decades. How has St. Bart's changed from when you arrived? What is different now, and what's the same?
Wow, that's a good question. I think the dedication is still there because there are still some facilities people who are still here. But of course, we've had a lot of different. We've had different rectors. We've had different clergy, and everybody kind of brings their own style, their own spirituality to it. And I think that there's kind of there's a coherence here, I think, that maybe we didn't always have. There's a real strong clergy, and I've heard many people say that, Dean has put together this incredible team, and people just feel very comfortable speaking to them and working with them. And I don't know that we ever had that whole coherence. I mean, everyone's been great who's been here, but it's just the idea that as a team, they're really great. And I think the staff too. I think we have a really dedicated staff, and I think there's a level of pride that is here that I think there always was, but I think it's just been ramped up. I think to what it is now is just it's just amazing, and the outreach and people feeling the need to reach out to all parts of our community, our New York community, I think is there and is amplified.
We have 2 questions about supporting folks who are primarily or all digital. And one questioner asks specifically about the kind of isolation and loneliness that became particularly acute in this COVID period. So can you all talk about any approaches or initiatives we have towards reaching out to and supporting these folks, not just getting them to participate, but from a pastoral perspective?
I think one of the things that we've made sure that we kept going, that we had a virtual coffee hour that was happening during COVID, and there's a dedicated group there. They may be watching now, so hi. And we made sure that there was a way for them to continue that, because a few of them just have not felt comfortable coming back to the church for health reasons, and no one can blame them for that because, you know, we still have COVID, it's still around. And I think that has made a huge difference for them to still feel connected. Part of my ministry is also reaching out to people who might have had something happen in their families, either a death or a serious illness. We try to send flowers or something to people, and for Christmas we sent to some of our homebound folks, we sent out these wonderful pears from Harry and David. So these are kinds of the things that we reach out to do. We also have the ministry led by Meredith, where we make sure that we're making calls to people to check on them. We have some volunteers doing that as well as the clergy. So we do have a few things in place. And if any of you know of any parishioners who you feel that need our attention, please don't hesitate to let us know, because we don't want anyone to feel that isolation, which has just been magnified by COVID. So.
Sure. I'll echo what Veronica was saying and also add, implore you to use our online Connect card if you happen to feel any sort of isolation. There's a section for comments, and whether you've already submitted a Connect card or you're completely new, I encourage you to send me a message, and I'd love to connect with you and see how we might plug you into our community or just have a conversation with you.
And I'll add to that the online prayer request form, stbarts.org/prayers. This is a way to get your name or the name of a loved one on the Sunday morning prayer list that's read at the 11 a.m. service, but it's also a way to communicate with clergy if there's any kind of concern and you need a phone call or a visit. That's one of the ways in which we know that and can then reach out to you. So please do avail yourselves of that. How can we support you in your roles? We talked a little bit about the role of volunteers earlier, but how can this group of folks gather together best aid you in your work?
Yeah, I would echo what we sort of said previously. I think I've been so struck by how welcoming everyone is, so I'm always anxious to meet more folks and connect with them and hear about their experiences here at St. Bart's, hear about their ideas, challenges, opportunities, etc. So, you know, sort of door is always open. I'm not here on Sundays as much as some of the other staff are, but definitely trying to make an effort to be around and really want to connect and get to know as many people as possible. And then again, I think just this really rich volunteer community, I think just supports our collective work so well. And so I know so many folks are already doing so much, but I think as we can continue to build that and sort of use the power of this parish to really surface kind of the most creative and sort of best ideas that can help us kind of continue what is this kind of rich legacy, and then also, you know, thrive well into the future. So anxious to connect with as many of you as possible.
Yeah, volunteers are always needed. The events that I'll be doing, we constantly need volunteers for setting up, serving, cleaning up, things like that, just the basics. And we're also trying to offer these events to everyone, and everyone is not on an equal playing field when it comes to finances. So we're hoping that those who have can share with those who have not for some of our events, so that they can be all inclusive and make everyone feel a part of the community, whether they have the means or not. So those are some of the ways that you can support us. And if you bake a mean cookie, please give me a call. We can always use extra things on Sundays and other days when we want to be able to provide hospitality for everyone. So.
I didn't know I could ask for cookies. I would have definitely.
Yeah, I guess in addition to the cookies, I'd invite folks to share their newcomer experiences with me, whether it was 20 years ago or last month. I'd really like to know what your experience was, what was positive about it, and what could have been better, and also just what you hope to see at St. Bart's, what it is that you feel you can add to our community, and what you'd like this place to look like.
Well, thank you, all three of you. I can't say enough about what a joy it is to work with all three of them and how much talent and energy and dedication they bring to this community. So thank you all three for saying yes to these new roles, and thank you for being with us today. We're not done yet, though. I'm going to hand it over to our boss and Rector Bishop Dean Wolf.
Thanks, Peter. Well, what I like about this is that the congregation gets to have just a little bit more of a sense of the kind of excellence that we have on our staff. When I first came here, I met with the staff and I said, this may sound audacious, but it's my goal for this to be the best parish in the country. And I think some people probably rolled their eyes, or maybe they waited until after the meeting to roll their eyes. But we've been seriously in pursuit of that goal. And it's very hard to say what is the best parish. But the kinds of things that we have sought to accomplish here are audacious. The goals have been very high, and we have been doing it in the midst of one of the most difficult times that the church has experienced in at least 100 years and maybe more. So I'm really glad you're getting a chance to see some of the excellence that is very much a part of this team. I'd also say that we really do appreciate your feedback, and so when you see something that's not working or something we've blown, we want to know about that because we want to fix it. We also really love it when somebody catches us doing something right and sends a note saying, wow, that was amazing. All of those emails we pass around to one another, and they mean the world to us. So don't hesitate to let us know if you think that you've seen something that was really exceptional, extraordinary. We like to hear from you. Well, we're probably just, Peter would not have let me sit here if it wasn't about time to go. but anything else that you'd like to kind of last words?
I just want to express this to Dean and Peter and many of our staff. I'm just so grateful to be with all of you, and it's such an exciting time for St. Bart's as well as the larger church. And so I really remain very hopeful and optimistic about the future and kind of what lies ahead. So it truly is wonderful to be in this community.
Just thank you so much for being here today and for being here, whether you're online or in person. Whenever you can be in person, we love to see you, but we're also delighted that we have the opportunity to have you behind the camera, and we're just grateful for everyone.
Thank you for having me here. I'm incredibly grateful to be at St. Bart's, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to speak at the forum, and I want to highlight the good work that my colleagues are doing and just say what a positive and generative environment it is to work in.
Well, somebody once asked me what kind of my management technique was, and I said, I try to really recruit and hire really great people and then get out of their way. And so you guys are an example of that, and we're so glad you're a part of St. Bart's along with the rest of the team and the vestry that we all partner with. I think we feel we're very well served by their dedication and faithfulness. All right.
All right. Well, thank you all for being here. Please stick around and join us for worship at 11 a.m., whether you're here in person or online. And please come back for the forum next week. We'll be welcoming the Reverend Dr. Maurice Wallace. He's a professor of English at Rutgers University, and he's just written a book about Martin Luther King Jr. and the way he used his voice to help him in his ministry, specifically on his voice. So it'll be a really interesting conversation next week.
Thanks, Peter.